Hey, welcome back, Sax Peeps. Here's another in the series of stick to the basics and practice them relentlessly until you can execute flawlessly, okay? Before I get to today's subject, a public service announcement, all right? So I broke out with a fever blister. Have you ever had a fever blister? Ah, man, they are miserable. And I generally nothing happens. I mean, you just get the blister, but there's no fever, no illness comes along. It's just this useless chancre on your lip. Well, mine started on this lip, but then it migrated to the, I mean, it healed, right? But then it migrated to this lip. And I think that I may have caused that to happen by not being ultra extra clean with my mouthpiece and reed combination here. Um, Not that I'm not, but I think that there's probably a time when you're very very contagious, and you may be able to actually move the juice across or whatever it is that causes this lip shanker situation. And they're miserable. Ah, this one down here, you can still see the remains of it. I don't mean to gross anybody out, but it was huge in its lifetime, and it was very painful and blood, and all that. Oh God. I can't even imagine what it would be like for a trumpet player. You just got to stop playing. In fact, I had to stop playing for a while. In fact, I had to stop being seen in decent public, for a while. Because people would just go look at that thing and just leave the room. Oh, look at the time. Oh, how about those Padres? Hey, we got to go. Okay, perhaps I exaggerate, but still, it felt that way. You've got this giant knob on your lip that's bleeding, and it's just gross. And so be careful. If anything like that happens to you, clean your mouthpiece and clean your reed. Use alcohol wipes, alcohol swab, soap and water, sunshine, whatever it is. Now, with this caveat, I don't have a medical license, right? I'm a saxophone player, not a doctor. So what I'm telling you is basically just, theoretical. It's just in theory. But anyway, it's been a real stressful period here for a couple of weeks. I have fallen off the map again, which is easy to do. Life just sneaks up on you. My mom, for example, just moved out here from Florida. She was living in Florida and decided that it was getting a little too hot there. So she moved out here, bought a house, and about 2 weeks into her stay in her new home, she's 87 years old. In about a week, she slipped, fell in the bathtub, busted this arm, the right bone right here, right above the elbow. So she's in a sling. We've been back and forth to various doctors, and and I'm sure she's in tremendous pain. Um, so these kinds of things they just take place in a person's life, and I know that it affects you as well. You all have lives. You all have people in your lives. Things happen, and they take you away from your horn, from your progress, from whatever. Well, this again, back to the public service announcement. Maybe stress causes lip chancre. I don't know. Fever blisters, whatever the proper name for these things. I don't know. But don't stress about missing a couple of days of practice. It's not worth it. You'll catch up. You'll be okay. In fact, you might even be better. Sometimes it's better to take a little time off. All right, today, what we're going to talk about is breathing. The gas in the tank of your saxophone is your breath. And I would be willing to go out on a limb and say that most of you do not breathe properly. You're not breathing into your saxophone properly. One of the things that you've all heard is to use your diaphragm. You have no idea what a diaphragm is, but you think you're using your diaphragm because somebody told you that. Perhaps a saxophone teacher, well-meaning as it may be, or you read about it, in one of those Google things about how to breathe properly. It's not possible to use your diaphragm. Look up what your diaphragm actually does, and you'll understand what I'm telling you. What you can use though are the flat of your stomach, right? And it should sound like that. So when you're blowing, if you're supporting the airflow into your saxophone properly, you're pushing the air out of your lungs with this muscle action, right? Now, you don't want to look that dramatic when you're doing it, of course, and you won't, but still, look at some of the top flight alto sax people that we've all grown up and come to love over the years. Got that big belly thing, and they're pushing that air out with that, right? Not such an attractive, but still, it's part of the job. I mean, we gotta do what we gotta do. So it's the muscles that you would, feel most after doing a set of, say, 25 sit-ups, right? If you don't believe me, go try it. You cannot swallow air into your stomach, by the way. You cannot. It's in your lungs, but your stomach helps you push that air up and out. And that's exactly what you want to be doing all the time that you're playing your saxophone. All right. Most of you don't do that. Most of you take little sippy cup breaths that, maybe fill the top of your lungs, or you play through your sinus, you push with your face, you know. Instead of that big, operatic, like that, right? And again, supporting with your stomach. And if your significant other should walk by, or your mom or whoever, and pop a few, try to give you a pink belly while you're practicing. It should sound like a drum, and it won't hurt, okay? Once again, and I don't care, by the way, if you move when you take in air. So many, oh my God, there's page after page after page on the internet about how you should. No, don't do it. Don't raise your, don't do it. No, of course you can. I don't care how, I don't care what. Just get the friggin' air into you and back out of you into the saxophone. Our job's kind of a blue collar gig, right? Keep the reed wet and keep the air coming, baby. The saxophone stays in tune with the right amount of air, and the notes all resonate. They all sound wonderful. So do this when you're doing your long tones. Fill up like you're going to do a giant cannonball into an imaginary swimming pool. What do you do right before you hit the water? You suck air, don't you? Like that, like really pretty quickly, right? So suck air. And push with your stomach, okay? It's a new skill, and it's one that you don't do, and I know it's going to take a minute for you to coordinate that and get that into your schedule of beautiful playing of saxophone notes. But the other thing too is when you look at a piece of music, or you've got preferably you've got a piece in your head, your strategy is always going to be to think about, where can I suck in more air? Now, I defer to the experts. Look at all the people that you know and love who play saxophone. You'll see strain in, their necks, their throats, their faces, because they're putting some air into that horn. Doesn't mean they're blowing loud. Fast exhale, loud. Slow exhale, soft. But here's the deal, right? The deal is, well, that thought just completely flew out of my mind like a flock of bees. The deal is when you play soft, it takes as much air as it does. It takes every bit as much air as when you play loud. When you play loud, it goes quicker, right? So strategize how you're going to breathe, how you're going to get that air, how you're going to get it out of you and into the horn. I've had students in the past, kids especially, in grade school, who have been given the idea that if they play the piece perfectly, that's how they get a great grade. And maybe the teacher even said that. Don't know. But they will suck air and just do it once and try to play the whole piece just on one breath and to play it perfectly. Perfectly, no, we don't do that. Just get air, make a lot of mistakes. I don't care. Just do it. Suck that air in, and you'll get better at it as time goes by. Let nature take its course, but just do it. Breathing is a real good thing to do in all walks of your life. So, but especially with the saxophone, this is an air-hungry mama right here, okay? All of you, keep that in mind, all right? Another thing that I'd love to have you do is pick a scale. And on and on. I would love to have you run scales on a breath, okay? And you can use your metronome if you'd like to, your little click track. Get that going at 60 beats per minute, right? If it's good enough for Bob Reynolds, it's good enough for you and me. 60 beats per minute, running up and down the scales. And keep track of how many that you can do before, you really exhaust your air supply. You're not going to breathe. You breathe once, one big breath. But this is an exercise that will help you to promote your resonance. You will be able to build your resonance, all right, your sonority, which is how you project across a room without shouting. You've heard saxophone players who shout, who just blast, it sounds horrible. You don't have to do that to project, okay? What you do have to do is build up your resonance, your ability to be sonorous. Look those words up if you don't know what they mean. And try that exercise. It'll really help. Keep track of how many times you were able to run that scale. And you can run it all the way up to the top. If you can get 2 octaves out of it, mazel tov. Just do it. Excuse me. Allergy season here. Anyway, if you have any questions, reach out to me. davegoodsax@gmail.com. If you'll... All right. I'm sorry. My dog was sleeping at my feet here, and I put my foot down. And I just bumped him, and he didn't like that. Sorry, big guy. I woke him up out of a deep sleep. Anyway, that's what that was about. He's jumped on his pad now. If you like what you see here and you want to support the channel, click the Patreon link below and help out. I'd appreciate it very much. That will help me to make more of these videos that presumably will help you to be a better saxophone player. That's what it's all about. So anyway, davegoodsax@gmail.com, Patreon, and you can opt out of Patreon anytime that you like. All right, breathe, keep breathing, big breaths and scales on one breath, okay? Up and down as many times as you can. A couple of things to think about today. All right, catch you next time.